Hey, welcome to my channel. This is Mr. P once again, and I'm making this video on a Monday morning, the 3rd of June. I tried to make this video on Sunday. I guarantee you all was just going wrong. I decided I'm gonna do it in the morning. I really am excited to make this video because I want to share a word of encouragement with somebody. I know Monday are very tough on many people, especially those who sit in the front working for the kingdom of God. Pastors, I know of pastors, Monday usually they get so drained because they give so much of themselves to other people. On Sunday they have to take Friday, Saturday to prepare messages, so Mondays is very tough. In fact, I used to take my Monday off. I even influenced my spiritual father in the past, to take Monday off. He's adopted that almost 10 years ago until now. I used to take off Monday because from a business perspective, on Monday there was just no productivity, and you see people coming at work and whatever and try, and being a CEO of my company, I could see productivity on Mondays, so I started giving Monday off to my staff, and they loved me, So most of my staff, they used to alternate. Monday, one take off, the other one, each department, they used to alternate. So they start the weekend from Friday until Tuesday. And myself, Monday, I used to watch Formula One on Sunday, and every time Schumacher lost, you have to know you don't want to be on my path, because I was addicted by Schumacher winning, and I flew around the world to watch Formula One. Hockenheim, I went to Manicourt, Circuit de Nevers, Austria, trying to see all these things live. That much obsession I had. Thanks God I'm delivered now. I still enjoy Formula One, but I can watch a good one on TV and just enjoy as much. So Monday, every time Schumacher won, there was a barbecue at work. My staff knew I will make a barbecue. When Schumacher lost, it was a firing day. Until I met Christ, I realized I need to take that Monday. It was such an obsessive day. God said, give me Monday, let me take Monday out of your hand. And I used to fast on Monday. I still do most of my Monday off until today. So Monday is a very, very heavy day. So I choose to share this message on today because it may have more impact than any other day of the week. Today I just want to talk about, by the way, I'm using my daughter's room. She's with the mom. She didn't go to school today. They're looking at going to Placheta. Placheta is a playground. So if she comes, this video will stop, because I'm renting it for just this video, for this short production I'm doing now. Yeah. So today I want to talk about knowing God in His intention. I really believe that many Christians today do not know God in His intention. They know God in His reparation. You can even say in reaction, but because God doesn't react, so I will remove the reaction things. I will just put reparation, because God repairs. I think the fact that we do not really pay attention to see God in His intention, it makes us sometimes feel like, we are in a situation where we forever on earth, we have to run, we have to pedal fast, we need to do something to get this thing going on. It's almost like we are just abandoned, responsible of our own endeavors and activities. We just that we are here on our own. It's like we are self-created, because if you do not go to see God in His intention, there are many chances you will feel like you are self-created. And once that foundation is not laid, it does not matter how many verses you know in the entire Bible. It does really not matter. I'm guaranteeing you, you can know so many things in the Bible. If you do not know the intention of the Bible, how it ends up in our hand, you're going to really suffer a lot, because you're going to be performing from a position, from a place of ignorance. I'm going to give you this anecdote. I hope it takes us home. It takes my message home. A few years ago, I used to do trade commodities, food commodities. I have an entire book I've written, My Message for Sale. and it went for re-editing. It's coming soon, I think next week. I'm going to show it on this channel. And I wrote so much of my stories, and this is the way I encounter God. It's just amazing. That book blesses me. And those who read it when I published initially, they told me this is amazing. So I had to do some work to correct the typos, the mistakes, so that when it's released, I'm comfortable that people can really absorb the messages that are inside. So I used to do trade commodities, and one of the clients I had during that time was in Senegal. There was a guy who came from Senegal, and he had government contracts and bank document, and he needed to trade with a South African company. This was during the NEPAD, you know, a program that President of South Africa and President of Senegal were running. NEPAD. It was a very nice program for African countries to work together and trade among each other. And I was a beneficiary of a loan in that program. So Senegal became a client, and I was supposed to go to Senegal after supplying commodity to a client. We were waiting for payment. Payment were taking long. I decided to fly. And when I was looking for flight, I realized that the only way to Senegal was via Paris. There were no direct flight from South Africa to Dakar. You know, it came very late. So then my assistant found that there was a flight of Air Afrique. I'm like, a flight from Air Afrique? She says, yeah, there is a flight apparently. We followed through, and yes, it was true, there was a flight. And the only things that flight was going on a very different schedule, very late at night, but I had not my choice. Otherwise, I had to go via Paris and all those things. So I took that flight. I did not know what I was in for. I arrived at the airport. There was a lot of mess, you know. There were a lot of people. There were a lot of mess, and we end up checking in. Nevertheless, very late, around 2 o'clock in the morning. We land in Angola a few hours late, and then we took off. We land in another country, and then eventually I started questioning the air hostess. The lady was actually serving us. And then I said, listen, I do not understand. We land everywhere, and it's taking long. Your service is not still starting. She looked at me, she said, service? I say, yes, your service. Then she laughs. And there was a guy opposite me. He says, which branch are you from? I say, which branch? What do you mean, which branch? He says to me, which branch of Air Afrique are you from? I said, I don't work for Air Afrique. I work for myself. I'm going to Senegal. What do you mean, which branch? He says, wow. Who sold you the ticket? I'm like, what are you going on with this? What are you going on with this? He says, no, because this flight is the last flight for Air Afrique, and it's going in each country where Africa used to have branches, you know, offices, to pick up the people from those countries and return them on their country of the origin. You complaining we landed only in 2 countries. We still have at least 6 more countries to land before we arrive in Senegal. So that's why I'm asking you, which branch are you from? Because no one's supposed to sell you a ticket. My goodness. I tell you, from there, my eyes popped out. I now realized I was next to a lady who also was the only client. Me and her were the only client. She was going to Congo Brazzaville. I was going to Senegal. And we were supposed to go via Gabon. And from Gabon, we were connecting to Dakar. We were the only 2 people with a ticket. Everybody was staff from Air Afrique on the last flight because the company was bankrupt. And they were collecting the people. I tell you, there were places we landed, I don't even know today what their names are. People were coming in the plane with chicken. In the plane, you just hear, hoo, hoo, hoo. Got. People were standing in the plane. As the plane take off, there were no reading for security measure. People are just holding, and then the plane take off. It was a mess. And there were no food, there were no water. The air conditioning were not working. I got so sick, you know. I had my nose blocked. It was a disaster. I mean, the toilet, you could not even, I will spare you the details. It was graphic. By the time we land in Gabon, Libreville, to wait for the connection, I got so sick that the lady was going to Congo Brazzaville. She actually delayed a connection because there was nowhere to go complain. There were no agent for Air Afrique. She actually she stayed in Libreville, spent the night watching over me to see if I'm strong enough, because there was an idea I found another ticket, return to Joburg or continue to Dakar. And I had fever. She ran around to look for medication, and I stayed in that hotel. She checked on me, and the next day I felt a little bit better. I said to her, please go, I will continue. And then she left. I stayed one more night the next day, and I went to Dakar. As I arrived in Dakar, straight, I went to a clinic owned by a Lebanese guy. I never forget, my fever was so high. And I got admitted in a clinic. I was treated there for a few days. Put water on me. They put all those kind of things, and then vitamins. My whole system nose was blocked. I was dehydrated. It was a mess. And eventually I got well, and I was discharged from the clinic, and I went to the hotel. Spent a few days in Senegal, finished my business transaction, and then I flew back to South Africa. When I flew back to South Africa, as I arrived, I went to meet my friend. We used to have a club of friends. We used to go for dinner after work, And then I start my Senegalese experience, and I start talking about the Senegalese trip. I talk about the Senegalese trip to everybody who wanted to hear it. I spoke to security guard in offices when I'm waiting for doctors, in other airports when I'm in a boarding room waiting. I spoke about the Senegalese trip to people at wedding event. Everywhere I went, spoke about it to my banker. I spoke about this story 10 times to my friend. Sometimes, just for the sake of interaction, we'll be on the table. My friend will be like, Pascal, what about the Senegalese trip? Just tell us a little bit more. I will go in. I will talk about this. The chicken in the plan, the goat in the plan. I will talk about. So until one day, I don't know where we were exactly. And we were around the table. And we were talking, and then I was just inclined to talk about my trip to Senegal. And I was about to start that story again. One of my female friends just said, Pascal, hang on a second. Hang on a little bit. Hang on a little bit. I have heard about that story 1,000 times, She says to me, I am not about to hear that story today again. And everybody on this table, I guarantee you they've heard the story, either through you or through one of us. You understand? But one thing we do not know, none of us know until today, was what was your intention of going to Senegal? What was the purpose? What was the cause? What pushed you to actually go to Senegal? What actually Senegal looks like? If you attend to your business, did everything go successfully as intended? What is the story? When she said that, a chapter of storytelling about tragedy, about things going wrong, just ended. And that day, I didn't realize I got delivered. I got delivered from talking about a story that was actually not the initial story. The initial story was going to Senegal to extend the contract, to find out more about that country, to expand my business there, and to liaise with the partner, the banks, and all the people that were waiting for me. That was the story. I left my stuff behind, bought the ticket, and go to Senegal. That was the story. But along the way, something happened that took me out of my initial story, and it was now what took my energy and my time, and that's what I've been talking about more than the initial intent. When that friend of mine said that, now it's like my eyes opened, and I start now relating about the beauty of Senegal. Senegal is on a coast on the Atlantic Ocean. It's a tiny small country. It's actually a port of entry to the West Africa, because they're all inland. Senegal is on the coast. Senegalese people are the most most amazing people on the planet. I'm not saying Africa. Senegalese are confident. You can be in a 5-star restaurant. You see somebody come with those long dress, with sandals, walk in, sit next to you, eat. First time I saw that, I told this guy, he's eating, he's gonna send us the bill because there's no way he's gonna afford that food. Until he put his pocket in the robe, remove so much euros and pay and left. I came from South Africa where certain restaurants were reserved for certain people. When I landed in Senegal, I was shocked. There was zero discrimination. No one looks at anybody based on how you're dressed. People are fun. You know, Senegal was such an experience. One of my trip, I met the president, you know, the story is in my book. And President Wade, I had tea with President Wade. Amazing story. I start talking about, I stay in a Meridian Hotel. It was next to the ocean. There is a golf course. I used to play golf because most expatriates in Senegal, you know, all these big boss, they come there to play golf. I start talking another story. And then my story changed. My story changed because now I was liaising my business now. The reason why I went to Senegal, what I have achieved there, when now I was in South Africa, I was already producing out of my Senegalese business. I was already expanding my business, but my story was story of the first bad experience I had. This is what I feel sometimes as Christian. We talk so much about what Elijah did, how the fire came down. We talk so much about how Jeremiah, God told him this. We talk so much about how David and Goliath fought and kicked David and Kung Fu. We talk about how Saul disrespected God, how Jonathan was this, how Joseph suffered in Egypt. His brother sold him and then he came. We talk about so much, and then we talk about Malachi, you know, we talk about John the Baptist in the bush, you know, proclaiming the coming of the Messiah, and then the Messiah comes. The Messiah comes. Then he starts now saying things that some of them don't make sense because people are used to a story. The Bible talks about in Luke 24, if you read around 24, it says the first time Jesus after resurrection, on the road to Emmaus, Jesus, he met 2 disciples who were talking about the story that needed to end. He got so frustrated, he says, you of lack of small faith, why do you still talk about the things like you do not know? I've been with you and told you the story, why I came. And the Bible says he took them and he started relating everything from the beginning, you know, Moses, Genesis, prophet, the scripture throughout, but he spoke about things concerning himself. Jesus didn't touch about anyone else. He talked things about himself. So what I picture here is that Jesus summarized the Bible to these 2 disciples. You know, he summarized it, but he mentioned things only concerning himself. That is telling, this is the first thing Jesus, when he comes back on the scene after resurrection, he talks about things concerning himself. This says so much. You may be busy saying a lot of things in the church, on the pulpit. You may be a Christian who talk about a lot of things. You know, scripture there and there. You may do a lot, but you may actually do things that don't concern Jesus Christ. You may be relating the story of me going to Senegal. You understand? But we're talking about Air Afrique. The story I was talking about was not my business. It was not Senegal. I was talking about a bankrupt company, Air Afrique, that closed overnight and had to take all these people out of dignity, with zero dignity, and sending them in their country with no pay. They were frustrated, they were angry. That's why that lady said, I'm not supposed to serve you because I don't work for Air Afrique anymore. I'm doing you a favor. Can you imagine? I was talking about Air Afrique bankrupt story rather than talking about my business company that was expanding in Senegal. Jesus came to tell us there was a father. When you look in Genesis is a story when God is talking about Genesis 1 to 3. This is the place where you hear God without man rebellion. Man haven't rebelled yet. God is talking about things. God is planting trees. He's creating animals, ocean, sky. God is doing so many things. He's making provision and create man lasts. And God say he rested, not because he was tired, because he finished. There was nothing to create after that. Then men came and turned on God, and then a fall happened. And then now, through that fall, God start now repairing things. But we stuck so much with the reparation that we do not know the intention of God. I challenge you today. I don't want to make this video too long. I challenge you. Please don't be stuck in God's reparation. Return in God's intention. In God's intention, you will see a loving Father. Sometimes forget a little bit about Elijah and Elisha and Isaiah and wherever. If man didn't rebel, none of those people were going to come in a picture. So returning in God's intention is restoring the beauty of the Father. Start seeing him at least for what he intended to do. There was no man contribution when God was creating the earth. It's still the same God. His intention is still pure. He's still a God of abundance. He's still a God of love. So whatever you're going through, you've trapped yourself in the spider web. You have to cut everything and go back to intention. Just focus on Genesis for a few days and see God in his beauty. Read it slowly. Take a week and see just the intention. And if the Bible was just Genesis 1 and 2 and 3, before the men rebel, what was going to be your image of God? That's where I want you to return you today. My name is Mr. Pascal. Stay tuned for more video like this one. So I challenge you to return and see God in his intention, but not in his reparation. That's where I want you to focus on today. More is coming. Stay tuned. Enjoy this month of June. And I'll be back on this video soon, on this channel soon, to make more video. God bless you. Hein?
Hello.
Tu baises à vous?
Alexa.
Alexa où? Alexa où?